Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
And I believe I have Virginia here. There you are. Wonderful to see. Last in the sessions today, but not least, I'm very excited about your presentation. I'm glad you. Am I okay to introduce you?
I don't think so until we've sorted out what where the slides are. So my understanding is that you're sharing them, because last time I couldn't.
Marianne was gonna our tech hosts, beautiful tech hosts, were here to assist us.
Right, so I'm happy to try and share them, if that will. Are you still there?
Yep, please do. Please do what you need to do and let me know.
Right, yeah, so let me, me, right, I'm just going to go into the workshop. Up you come. Right, now if I put that in presentation mode and I swap that. Now, can you see my slides?
Sorry, I'm just texting. Can I see your slides? Now, at the moment, I see you, but I have just texted our tech team.
Yep. So I'm happy to.
When the screen was on, sorry.
Sure, we'll sort it. We have sorted many things today.
Yeah, it was here before, just before you started, it was there, and then it was gone.
So is it there now?
No.
No. Okay, let me just go back into.
Hang on.
Okay, so if I do that, does that work?
Did you go to the green button down the bottom, share screen?
Oh, okay, let me. Hold on.
There's the button down the bottom.
Yeah. The problem is you have to get out of. Share screen. So let's see if I can share that.
Hey, it's coming.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome.
Are you seeing the speaker's view, or are you seeing the slide view?
I've seen the full screen. It's beautiful. They're thriving on purpose.
Excellent. Awesome. We're rocking and rolling then.
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. I'm so happy, and sorry about the challenges, but that is life, isn't it?
It certainly is.
So I'm just wondering, can anyone see me now?
I can see you in the Zoom window. So I think if someone
yes, we all can see myself. That whenever who is speaking, I think the video goes to the speaker. So
yeah, okay, should come up. I'm in speaker view, and yes, well, I can't see myself. Danny, you can see me?
I can see you now that you're speaking, yes.
Brilliant. Virginia Walker, welcome to our festival, and thank you for coming on to present your beautiful, beautiful talk to us. You are a mentor, author, and speaker. Virginia Walker enables CEOs and executives of disability service providers to be financially strong and lead happy people and live their purpose. Virginia Walker is a mentor, author, and speaker. Her abiding passion is enabling workplaces where people learn, grow, and thrive. This passion was ignited at the age of 16 when her first job as a trainee accountant transformed her life. 30 years of senior leadership experience in companies, including the Commonwealth Bank, Hewlett-Packard, and IBM, honed Virginia's understanding of one of the most challenging things an organization can do: radically reform the way it does business. After leaving the corporate world, Virginia embarked on a personal development journey that involved many adventures, including traveling to France in search of the Holy Grail and meditating with horses. Practicing as an executive coach and mentor, she wrote The Truth About Transformation. In this book, Virginia shares 10 key myths every leader must know to survive their transformation project, helping leaders demystify and deal with the challenges they are likely to face. In 2018, Virginia embraced an opportunity to successfully lead the turnaround of a 400-person organization in the not-for-profit sector. Virginia now combines her significant financial pedigree and deep understanding of industry disruption and organizational change to work with CEOs of NDIS service providers who want to lead purpose-driven organizations that thrive. She uses her treasure chest of stories and experience to empower those who need to achieve success for themselves and their teams while living their values, in short, to thrive on purpose. In her spare time, Virginia loves playing golf, spending time with friends, enjoying fresh food and great Rieslings, and hasn't given up on learning. Virginia, I welcome you to share with us Thrive on Purpose, how to achieve business and personal well-being. Thank you. The virtual stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Gabby. Really appreciate it. And to my audience today, it's lovely to be here, and it's a privilege to be able to talk to you about a little bit of my journey. So, in Gabby's introduction, she talked a little bit about my personal why. I guess for those who haven't heard any of that before, I was 16. My life felt like it was stuck, and I was overwhelmed by what I needed to do at school and where my life was going to go. And I was lucky enough to have someone reach out and help me, my careers master. And I met with a partner in a chartered accounting firm who offered me a job. And what I found in that world, that new world that I entered, was this environment where I could learn and grow and work with people who had a sense of humor and a passion for helping businesses with their skills. And so that became a theme for my world, for my life. So my big personal why is enabling workplaces where people thrive. And the picture you can see there is me, not a computer in sight, because this is a long time ago that we're talking here. We still used to have things delivered to us in brown paper boxes, with all of the receipts in the top, and you had to make some sense of them. So it was a pretty rich training ground. And I don't think you'd see an office like that anymore. Also, please note the cigarette trays, remember? I don't know how many people can remember those, but yes, they're good. Some of those things, it's good that they've gone. But today I'm going to go into a little bit, this is a workshop, right? So I'm going to get those who are listening here to do some thinking. So please make sure that you grab whatever you think best with, whether that's a laptop, whether it's a notebook of a digital or paper version, whatever it is. I would like you to spend some time today reflecting on things, because we know that when we, as adults, that we learn when we do. Yeah. So what's the first thing is we learn a bit when someone tells us, we learn a little more when someone shows us, and then we really learn when we do it ourselves. So some of these concepts, yes, you might have heard them before, but I want you to lean into them and make sure that you're taking them on board, and you can pick up the bits that are going to work for you in your world, in your life, in your business. So firstly, this is intended for those that both want to live their passion, live their values, live their purpose, make the difference they're meant to make, but also have found that in the business world, and even not in the full-blown business world, we need to find a way of being financially strong to make a profit or to earn more than we spend to be financially viable. And so for me, Thrive on Purpose is bringing those two worlds together. And what I see with the CEOs and executives that I work with is the left-hand side, that it's all getting really overwhelming, that the sense of purpose is getting drowned out, that the culture is splintered. And what I mean by that is you're dealing with warring tribes. You know, the head office team fighting the frontline team, those people in head office, and those guys don't understand what we're doing, we have to fix it up for them. That kind of language is what I'm talking about. And what it translates for you, if you're a manager, a senior executive, is your email box is full of the war. It's full of the argy-bargy, and somehow you're meant to arbitrate it. And that wasn't what you started this whole thing to do, this role to do. This is not what you're there to do, right? It's not your purpose. And then you see low employee engagement, people who check in and check out, they do the minimum, or they're very passionate about their clients, because you see that a lot, particularly in the disability and aged care sectors. You see workers very passionate about the people that they look after, but they fight their own organization. And it can be quite dysfunctional, because they will spend more hours and put in the overtime for all those hours to help a client, but then the organization can't recover it. And that's not their problem, right? That's not their problem. That's someone else's problem. So you see this low employee engagement translates into some dysfunctional behavior from a broader perspective. And that means that the business stops being commercially viable, or starts to slide into not being commercially viable. And that, as I've mentioned, if we don't earn more than we spend, individuals, small businesses, big businesses, there's only a certain period of time that you can sustain that. Who's going to fund you to do more than your funding allows? And so that ends up being really stressful. But when you go on this journey, there's a path that holds it all together, and there's a path that won't. So the path that won't, and I guess this goes back to my 30 years in corporate life, I have seen very large transformations because of industries changing and products changing and cultures changing. And if you don't do them in a way that takes people on the journey, things get worse. They don't get better. There was a famous American back in I'm pretty sure it was the late 70s, early 80s. He was known as Chainsaw Al. And he went into organizations and literally chopped out cost, which meant taking people out of jobs, right? And people eventually worked out that that wasn't such a healthy thing, because you didn't just, it's a bit like chopping off your arm to lose weight. It's like, well, yeah, that was a short-term solution, wasn't it? But really the long-term consequence of that is horrendous. Yeah? And so organizations have tried to be more people-centric. They've tried to do that, but they haven't always found the way. And so the 5-zone approach that I'm going to take you through in a little bit more detail here looks at what happens when you're working well in each of those 5 zones, and where the symptoms are when you're not. And I'm going to finish with a few, about 3 practical tools that you can take away, that you can spend a little bit of time on this afternoon, but you can take away and start implementing to make the changes that you want to see in a way that doesn't make you choose between purpose and values and financial sustainability. And where that takes you is the right-hand side, thrive on purpose. It means you can live your purpose, that you're working in an organization where it feels connected. It feels that you're on the same team, that you have a respect for each other's individual purpose and strengths and desire for development, but you all know what you're there for and how you're going to best work together. And if you don't, you're certainly on a path to improve that. The other aspect is engaged and productive employees. What I see when you have engaged people across the organization is the fear goes away. And when the fear goes away, innovation starts to come up. It's as if you've put fertilizer on your garden. So seeds will now sprout. It's interesting as humans how when we're fearful, well, it's not interesting, it's actually neuroscience. We know that when we're fearful, pieces of our brain shut down, our executive brain shuts down, and that's where all our creativity and ideas come from. So if people and the organization is operating in the fear space, you're not going to get the innovation and ideas that you want to thrive. And ultimately, all of those things mean that you have a healthy business on a productive path. It doesn't mean you won't get shocks. It doesn't mean there won't be changes that you have to deal with. But just like a resilient, healthy human being is going to be able to deal with the challenges that face them, so it is so for an organization. And at this point, this is where I'm so looking for a face-to-face response or even a chat response of whether any of those ideas are resonating with you. So I'll pause for just a second so that you can think about, were there any ideas in there that for you struck a chord? Were there any problems that struck a chord? Were there any outcomes that you are wanting to achieve that you want to hear a little bit more about? I jot them down because even though we can't talk now, there will certainly be means of reaching out to me afterwards if you would like your questions answered. So the first zone here is financial security. What it looks like when it's right, you're anticipating and managing cash flow. You understand where your income's coming from and you can predict it with some degree of certainty. It's never possible. We're not tarot card readers in the business, but you will find some of your income varies a little bit and some of it varies a lot, but you can do some level of projections. It means your leadership team actively manages their financial results and budgets. They don't go, oh, that's not mine. Finance didn't tell me how to do that. You know, they haven't given me the right numbers. Yeah, that's not what's happening. And interesting, what it also means is financially is you know what you excel at. We know as individuals, when we're following our own passions, we flow, don't we? We're in flow. We lose track of time. We're doing what we're meant to do. We love it. Organizations aren't very different. So when we're doing what we're meant to do, when we're doing what we're very good at, funnily enough, we seem to get much better at managing it. It's that 10,000 hours concept, you know, the more we practice something, the more we love something and we practice something, the better we get at it. So these are the sorts of attributes that you'll see in an organization that's got good financial aspects to it. And what you see when it's not like that is this uncertainty about the future. Like, are we going to be okay? Where's the next chunk of funding come from? What's going to happen there? And financial results cause tension. People don't want to look at them. They're like, oh, can I just get on with the bit that I like? Yeah. And there's a lot of confusion and finger pointing. And interestingly, the one thing that I would encourage you to look at first, because this is the place where you can start to unpick this, is organizations, particularly in the for-purpose sector, don't know where they lose a little money, a lot of money, and they don't know where they make a little money, a lot of money. In the example that in the organization I was a CEO of most recently, this was a game changer for us. We found that the areas where we were able to make a profit were actually the ones that we were really good at compared to our competitors. Yes, now we don't like to think of competitors in the for-purpose space, but the reality is that, you know, particularly in the disability space, we are competing for the participants who now have funding provided by the NDIS scheme, that we are competing for that. They want the right people to look after them. It's not competition as perhaps we see it in a very strong sense in the corporate world, but nevertheless, we need to show that we are a better solution and that we've got a better appreciation of needs than another organization. And when you do what you're really good at, you know what? you service the client, you are able to meet their needs and anticipate them. You also find ways of making money because you know this space. Making sure that that's not. Sorry. Just making sure I'm not getting any messages that something's gone wrong with the slides or that something's because I had a little bit of a problem in the last one, so we'll just make sure we're keeping going here. Okay, so we're now going into the second zone, values and purpose. So when this organization I talked to, the first time we said, well, what are our values? And everybody's looking around. Where's the values chart? Yeah. Now, in a corporate world, you maybe think, oh, yes, people, are kind of told what the values are, right? In a full purpose organization, it would be, you would think that that's actually quite a natural thing. No, don't kid yourself. All organizations have to spend time with communicating with their employees as to what the values are. And I'll tell you what the values are. The values are what people are doing. Whether you've got them up on a chart or not, those are the actual values. If you want to shift them, then you need to start acknowledging those that live your values and having strong conversations with those who aren't living your values. Yeah. So we had a value of working well together. And I can tell you that wasn't being practiced when I first went there. There was what I've talked about, that disconnect between those that are in a head office and those that are working with the client, and a lot of finger pointing. And that was not healthy. And a lot of conversations and dialogue needed to be had for the myths that each team had about other teams and what they did and what they didn't do. And it meant working together was hard work. I used to use this analogy of a soccer team. All right. So most of us have seen a game of soccer, right? So I said, so what do you think happens that people go out onto a field and they just know how to take a corner? It's like, and so a corner, I hope each of you has seen a soccer game. Otherwise, this will be a bit of a miss here, but we'll have a go at this. So a corner is when someone takes the ball, they kick in from the corner of the field, and then some of their team are standing in front of the goal and they're trying to head it or kick it into the goal. And I said, do you think they just did that on paper? Do you think they just talked to each other and said, okay, well, you kick the ball and I'll head it, and then that's ludicrous, isn't it? Do you think they went out there and practiced it? Yeah. Do you think they went out there and practiced it more than once? Of course. Do you think they had different scenarios depending on the team they were playing and the people in the team on that particular day? Yes. And did they practice it dozens of times? Yes. And why do we think in business it is any different? What we do is we are practicing how to work together well. And we need to work together well so that our clients get great outcomes. I think in any business that's important. In a for-purpose business, isn't that the most important thing? So, practicing. You also see a purpose guiding and informing decisions. So that oftentimes individuals are allowed to sort of pursue their own particular agenda, if you like. So it can be, I want to look after, we used to have one individual who was absolutely passionate about looking after, young children who were at risk of not getting an education, et cetera, et cetera. We all shared the desire for that part of our community to be supported, but we had no expertise in it. It wasn't our purpose. It wasn't what we were set up to do. And we had to make some decisions that says, no, we're not going to do that. That's not the right alignment. So it doesn't mean those decisions are going to be easy, but it does mean that they're important if you're going to keep this balance right. And this is where your service is aligned to your purpose. So if you've got services that are out of alignment, you probably find they're the ones that are taking your time. It's like if we're not a technology guru, right? And we spend our time trying to work out how to fix that connection between, X and Y. In many cases, it's an absolute waste of our time, because we're learning something that we're never going to hold on to. We're going to do it once and never want to do it again. It's often better to get the right person to do that. So this is where aligning your services to your purpose makes this much more straightforward. So what do you see when it's not, Ryan? You see values on posters, no evidence of them being lived. No one knows who they are. They go, what's that one again? Yeah, not working. You also see that the challenges of running a business, the conversations about profit and viability, etc., they take over. They're running the show. I was using an analogy earlier where for those of us old enough to have learned a car that was manual, so won't be quite as true for those of driven automatics, just a slightly less degree. When you first drive, there's a lot of things going on, right? There's windscreen wipers, headlights, gears, all these things. And so you're focused much less on navigating. Yes, you're focused on all the pieces. Yeah. What you want is the capability to manage all those pieces so that you're navigating. The other thing you see is that the portfolio of services is a reflection of history. It's when this person joined the organization, you added a certain service, with that person added another service, right? So it is worth doing that alignment I've talked about in the top section, that when you line up, and yes, there will be some tough decisions. We need to get out of that service. It's not what we're doing, but there's always elegant ways of doing that. And the simplicity that comes from the people in your business being skilled and aligned to your purpose is not to be underestimated. Culture and organization. So what's it look like when it's right? People are really clear what they're there to do, how their role fits in to the overall purpose of the organization, the overall aim of it. The other thing I find interesting in the for purpose sector is there is this assumption that people do this for love, and so that they'll come and they'll have a role, and it's like a vocation. Why can't there be career paths and growth just as there is expected to be in the corporate world? So for me, we're always learning and growing. If you're not, what are you doing? What are you doing? I used to have a lovely phrase I saw once a long time ago in a magazine, and it said, and it was actually an advertisement, and it said, if you think lifelong learning is an option, consider that cessation of brain activity is the clinical definition of death. So I've always been very strong. We're learning and growing, and we need to make sure everybody in the organization is finding a way of learning and growing. It doesn't mean they all want to be managing director or CEO or anything. It means there's always growth and there's always learning to do. It also sees what you see in organizations that have got culture and organization right is you don't see above average turnover of employees. You see people wanting to join the organization. You see people saying, do you have a role? This is what I'm looking for. Can I join your organization? And your employees start talking positively about where they work. This is not to be underestimated in a sector where you often have a high degree of casualization, and people have a lot of flexibility as to where they work. So holding on to those that you value and are aligned with the values of the organization is really, really special. What do you see when culture and organization isn't being handled well? I've talked about the fiefdoms. I've talked about the unacceptable attrition rate. That can be really damaging because you don't lose just the people you want to lose. You usually lose the ones you least want to lose. They are the ones that are most attractive to other organizations. So be very careful when you're losing your star people. Look at what's going on. Look at what the reasons they're leaving and what needs to be done to address that. We also see another interesting statistic. You see workers' compensation claims happening. It's this fractured care model, effectively, for employees, where people's grievances aren't being handled well, their performance isn't being handled well, the stresses of the jobs, they're not being supported by them. And so you see that translate into workers' compensation claims, which can be, again, very damaging to your financial health. And that leads extremely elegantly, or certainly smoothly, into management capability. One of the things of being the privilege of coming up through a corporate career is the amount of access that you get to management education, especially if you're up for it and you look for it. And what I see in the for-purpose sector is a desire not to spend money on things that aren't seen to be directly helping a client. Not managing organizations that have dozens or hundreds or thousands of employees. Not having good managers is false economy. How working together across numbers of people and numbers of functions and complex processes is not for the faint-hearted, and managers need to know how to do this. When employees are managed well and their performance is managed well, you nip problems in the bud. You see sound financial results being achieved because people know how to manage a business correctly. Again, this is not something that has been emphasized in this sector. This whole profit is a dirty word type of thing doesn't really help here. But knowing your numbers and knowing how to be efficient with the dollars that you have is highly valuable. I remember listening to the CEO of one of the, what's it called? Sorry, I'll remember the name. Thank You. There you go. Thank You. That's an easy one, isn't it? And they make product. And he was asked about metrics and the time he was spending understand the metrics of his business as it grew exponentially. And he said, the work we do is too important not to get that right. And that stuck with me. I went, that is such a powerful idea. What you see when managers become more confident in their ability to manage teams is that they don't hold on to positions so much. There is more fluidity in terms of how they reconcile differing points of view within their team and across teams and manage different points of view. A much nicer environment to work in. What do you see when it's not working? Loss of talent, skill. Like I said, particularly those that have been there a while, the loss of organizational memory that goes that. You see increasingly unpredictable financial results. And another interesting thing you see is you see issues bubbling to the top. They don't stay down where they could be made. You see them coming up, and senior managers dealing with really quite trivial issues because no one feels empowered to make decisions of their own. And lastly, in the 5-zone approach, you see lead on purpose. You see leaders communicating and managing change effectively because we're always in some degree of change. You see roles being able to fill within the organization, and you see alignment of strategy with the day-to-day delivery. When it's not like that, change is really hard. You lose organizational memory and people stumble over things that have already been learned before and the organization would benefit from understanding. And as I've mentioned before, you get increasing levels of massive issues escalating to the senior team. What I'm going to do now is take you through 3 ideas that you can use right away to help your organization thrive on purpose. The first one is to look at whether you're solving the right problem. We often assume our employees or our colleague is not motivated. And so we're like, oh, I wish they'd be a bit more motivated. I hope something's okay. What I have found is that the most usual scenario is someone isn't clear about what's expected of them. Are they clear what success looks like? Are they clear what their job is? Are they clear what this project definition is? Are they clear which team they're supposed to be working with? And if you have clarity, if someone has clarity, they will tell you 9 times out of 10 if they don't have the skills to do it. They go, oh, if that's what you want, I don't know how to do that. And then you can help them with the skills. And every now and then there's a motivation problem, but it's not usually the big one. Clarity first, skills second, and then look at whether there could be a motivation problem where the person's in the wrong role. They will usually self-identify if you solve clarity and skills. So what I'd like you to do now, just for a few seconds, is to think about someone in your organization who you think has a motivation problem. And I want you to write their names down. And you don't have a lot of time now. It takes more time than a few seconds. You don't have a lot of time now, but write their name down and come back to it. Book some time in your diary for next week. This is important. This is very important. Don't get this right, you'll spend more time fixing it up than you will think problem solving now. So put their names down, come back to it, and have a conversation with them about what you both understand that they're there to do and what support they're looking for from you. The second element, because this is also in the area of people, which is usually the source of almost every challenge that we deal with as senior leaders and leaders. Who should you hold on to and who should you let go? We often hold on to those who, if you look at the x-axis, the performance, they're very high on performance, but they don't live the values. So they're brilliant at doing reports and things like that, but they treat everybody really poorly, very dismissive of other teams, and can be quite abrasive. Why are they still in your organization? Every day that you tolerate those individuals, you are telling the rest of the team your values don't matter. High values, low performance. Yeah, find a way of teaching them, find a way of supporting them to grow the skills that they need. If they're low values and low performance, well, you know what? You should already have them on a performance plan. What are they doing in your organization? And those with high values and high performance, challenge them, let them go. They don't need to be told how to do something. They need to be told what you want them to do. Give them their head, let them grow. And then let's do a little bit of mirror gazing here. I love this image because I love the shock, the shock when you suddenly see yourself. Have you done that kind of thing when you just go, wow, not so much do I look like that, but more I didn't realize I came across like that, or I didn't realize I did those things. So we have these 3 fears. We're not good enough. We're not worthy. We're not lovable. It's really worthwhile knowing which one plays out most strongly in your life. For me, not good enough. It's a running dialogue. No, it's a running monologue, I think. And so being aware of the fact that that is your tendency, that is the one that's going to show up, and then getting some help with how you deal with it. It's very difficult to deal with that yourself. I would absolutely encourage you to get some form of coaching, therapy, whatever it is, depending what level of issue it is. But as a leader, that self-awareness is vital, because otherwise that will be playing out with the way that you manage your team. And that won't work for them, and fundamentally it won't work for you either. So I hope today that you've walked away with some practical tips into how the steps you could take immediately to get greater insight into your world, your working world, how you can use a 5-zone approach to thrive on purpose. If you'd like to learn a little more, please take a photo of the QR code, or you can go to my website, www.transformationjourney.com.au, and you can take what's your Thrive score. It's got a number of simple questions. It's only about 5 minutes, and see how you come out. I'd love to connect up with you on LinkedIn. I post regularly there. And please reach out to me if there's anything I can do to support you on your journey. Thank you.
Virginia, this has been absolutely beautiful. I shall go out into my nature again. That has been absolutely amazing and insightful, and I can relate to a lot of it. I haven't been able to express that, seeing it's a one-way presentation, but I certainly over my lifetime have experienced many, many aspects of what you've just presented. And I also see that, you know, as part of peace, harmony, and unity of our festival, peace and harmony have to be everywhere in our private lives, but also in our work lives and in the bigger picture. So it is all part of the one, and needs to work. It needs to happen everywhere. Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you for bearing with all the technical.
Thank you, Virginia. It was really good presentation too.
I just lost you there for a moment.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Virginia. I really related as well. Try to build my own organization here, and the tips is really good. It's just myself now, but it's very important, you know, that we do, you know, as we grow, you know, to do have this support and see all of these aspects, because that's how, you know, the new business, and that's the purpose of my business is this striving with this purpose as well. So it was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I hang out with a lot of people who think that business is going to change the world, and small business is going to change the world. And small businesses with a purpose, whether they're literally for purpose, also they're proper and for purpose, they will change the world. It is, you know, governments are not changing the world. Business is actually changing the world. And so we need workplaces where people thrive, and then we'll change it in the right direction.
There we go. I really hope so too, because yes, it is starting with us individuals, you know, to make this change happening, and doing that, you know, ourselves, and putting that in our organizations as well, you know, our heart and our purpose in this different way, you know, because it is a more loving way to do business, and to have a loving organization, you know, that works with purpose, and that's not working with the type of, you know, organizations that are out there, you know, because I worked in those types of organizations too, and that's not what I want to be doing anymore in my life. Thank God.
We can learn a lot. We can learn, you know, what I found is you can learn a lot of discipline from those worlds.
And
that's my whole message. Let's pull those two things together.
Definitely. It's so important. Balance is important. It's all very important.
Like the masculine and the feminine coming together, isn't it?
Oh yes, and because you have like, and I struggle with this because I have all these creativities, you know, and I have all these inspirations, but then I struggle to really put these things into action. And then sometimes when I do have a boss, it's good because the boss tells me what to do, and then okay, I'm very good at that. I've learned very well to follow orders, you know. But and when it comes to me, you know, now like holding on to everything and having to do it everything and have this discipline and consistency and keeping, you know, the grounding, the foundations, and and growing from these strong foundations as well. That's a big challenge. So thank you for presentation today, because yeah, that was very helpful.
Okay. Well, thank you for all the work you guys have been doing. Well done. Long day.
No, absolutely. And all of us are keeping the movement going. And that's what it is about, you know, the movement all around the world, and finding unity and finding common places where there's differences. So thank you for being part of this. And this concludes the first day as such, and the workshops as well. But there's more to come tomorrow. And to all the viewers, everything is recorded and you can access it on the website through the link. So thank you again to you, Virginia, and
Have a
let's
nice
keep
rest
this
before-
moving.
Absolutely, and have a good rest before tomorrow, and we'll keep trying to change the world together. No, we won't try.
We are.
Keep on
We are.
changing. We keep on changing the world together.
We are making a beautiful change. We are. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Gabby, thank you for
Namaste.
today and all the beautiful work for that everyone has done today. It was an incredible day. Thank you. I really appreciate this festival
Thank you.
that's been created in here today. So there's more to
Yes.
come tomorrow. It's exciting.
There is. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank you.
absolutely everyone.